Hi everybody. Today I'm going to talk about gray hair, what causes it, and how to reverse it. Now I'm going to separate this video into three parts. The first part will be about my theory on what causes hair loss or gray hair. The second part will be the solution on how to reverse gray hair. And the third part, I will offer examples which will validate my theory. So let's get into this. The first part, what causes gray hair? I believe gray hair is due to the demineralization of the body and soils. You see, in nature, the way plants eat nutrition from the soil is that they have a symbiotic relationship with the bacteria in the soil. And in that handful of healthy soil on a forest floor, there are up to 50 billion microorganisms, which you can't see with the naked eye. And there are also trace amounts of the 116 elements you find on the periodic table. These are the trace minerals. And the bacterial colonies pre-digest these elements and feed them to the roots of the plants. There's a symbiotic relationship there between plants and minerals, okay? In modern farming, this whole process is derailed and destroyed because when they spray chemical fertilizers and herbicides and fungicides, they destroy and kill the bacterial ecology in the soil, and thus the plants are starved. But also, because we've been growing the same food, the same plants in the same soils for more than 6 or 8 decades now, the mineral content is totally gone. So most of these plants, which we eat from our supermarkets, they are grown using synthetic fertilizers, NPK fertilizers. A good book on this topic is Empty Harvest. It's an excellent book. Essentially, it talks about all of this in detail. Now you have malnourished bodies who are not receiving an adequate source of trace minerals from their diet, but you now feed it caffeine and you give it mental, emotional, and physical stress. Well, what happens when the body is in stress is that it mobilizes its nutritional reserves, mobilizes them into the bloodstream in order that the organism can get away from the fight or flight response or get away from the stressful state. And in order to do that, it needs to, again, utilize and mobilize its nutritional reserves. So anything which pumps out adrenaline and cortisol in the bloodstream, such as caffeine, will cause an excretion and depletion of nutrient reserves, water-soluble B vitamins, and trace minerals. And it can happen fairly rapidly. So essentially, again, what we have is starving soils, starving plants, and people who are rapidly being demineralized because of subpar food and stressful lifestyles. And that's kind of obvious. People have understood that stress causes gray hair, but now I want to get into the solution. The solution, by far, the best solution or the best tool I have found for this purpose, for reversing gray hair, is wheatgrass juice. Now, those of you who are familiar with my book, Nutrition and Hair Loss, you know that I talk at length about this food and I praise it. I could talk about wheatgrass juice for hours, but I'm just going to summarize it here. Of all the land plants, carrots, broccoli, kale, spinach, chard, an olive tree, all of them, anything that can be grown on the land, wheatgrass, wheat, by far, has the fastest growing tap roots which can go into the soil and mine it for nutrition. Now, I'm an experienced and veteran agriculturist, I'm a farmer, and there is nothing I have found which is as hungry as wheat. When grown in a tray of wheatgrass, right, when it's grown inside of a tray with organic, high quality soil that you can buy from any hydroponic store, the wheat is able to consume an inch of soil within a week. Now, when you compare it against other sprouts which you can grow in a tray, and name it, any other vegetable, any seed it may be, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to achieve the same depth of roots that a wheat can achieve within a week. So wheat is a very hungry plant. And if you can grow that inside of a tree or inside of a tray and harness the nutrition from very rich soil and then, let it grow to 6 to 8 inches, cut it and juice it, well, you just have a very high source of minerals. An alternative to this, for people who don't want to grow wheatgrass, is to buy the wheatgrass powder. And that is what I do when I'm traveling or when I just don't have the time to grow my own wheatgrass juice. I have the link to the Amazon store for the one that I use specifically. And you have to take great care to buy it from a farm which is growing the wheat in excellent soils, but also is not just giving you the dried extract of the leaf, because many of these brands, what they're doing is they're getting the dried leftover remnant from juice bars, and they're grounding that into a powder and selling it to you. What you want is the whole leaf ground to a powder. And this supplement that I use, they use the whole leaf. They don't extract the juice, and they ground it into a powder and then provide the supplement. And this again provides a very decent source of minerals for the body. Now, some may argue, well, wheatgrass is not fit for human consumption, we're not herbivores. It's not a food. I'm not saying to eat it as a food. I'm saying to use it as a supplement and for its therapeutic benefits. Even the apex carnivore on this planet, the lion, eats grasses for medicinal purposes. It uses it to balance the acidity inside of its digestive tract, uses it as a fiber, and it also uses it to obtain some trace minerals which it cannot or could not have obtained from eating the animal. So the animals know this because they follow their instinct. This is something all of us can use. Now this is the third part of this video, and I want to give 3 examples which validate my thesis here, that this is caused by demineralization, and that using wheatgrass to remineralize your body will rapidly reverse gray hair and return hair to its original color. I'm going to give the first example, which is the Hippocrates Health Institute. It was founded by Anne Wigmore over 6 decades ago, and she is notorious for reversing her gray hair in her 60s with the use of high doses of wheatgrass juice. Look into Anne Wigmore. Further, the establishment today is directed by Brian Clement and his wife Anne-Marie Clement. Both of them are 70 years of age. I've met both of them. They use ample amounts of wheatgrass in their diet, and if you look at them, their hair is not fake, nor do they dye it. They are 70 years old, have amazing health, amazing energy, and they attribute a great deal of their well-being to wheatgrass juice. And again, the Hippocrates Health Institute themselves use wheatgrass juice as the foundation of their protocol. So it's an amazing food, amazing therapeutic food. Number 2, I want to go to Lou Corona. He's another master of longevity. The man is 70 years old, and he also incorporates wheatgrass juice as well as other very unique and special foods which fortify his diet with ample amounts of nutritional reserves. And at 70 years old, he's not graying, he doesn't dye his hair. I've met him personally, he's a great guy. And he's my second example. Third example I want to use is this old woman I had found on YouTube many years ago. You guys can go and check out the video for yourselves. And she reports how she reversed her gray hair using wheatgrass juice, right? Her and her husband's hair went from being completely gray, scarecrow gray, to almost like a golden blonde. I myself, my personal experiences with wheatgrass juice is that if I have a few gray hairs pop out because I'm very stressed out, because I have a lot of work to do, I find that wheatgrass juice, but even the powder, will work for me to reverse the gray hair. If you're in old age, the powder won't work, you'll need the juice. It's far stronger, but if you're just starting to gray, the powder is enough, I believe. Now, another thing I want to point out is, through my study of indigenous cultures around the world, I have hardly found any, I haven't found any at all, except for maybe one, that balds and grays. Majority of them just simply do not bald, and they do not get gray hair, and they have the full thickness, luster, and color of their hair well into old age. They die with a thick dark head of hair. And the reason for this is because they live a pretty cushy lifestyle. They're very comfortable, they're not stressed out, and they're harvesting foods, plant and animal foods, from soils which are wild and not disturbed by man. They haven't had chemicals sprayed on them, and they're very replete with nutrition. And so just looking at the indigenous cultures and observing their hair, you can see and observe and come to your own subjective conclusion that gray hair is not a matter of fate or genetics. It's a matter of the demineralization of the body, and it's totally reversible. So a powerful practice which I suggest and which I practice myself every morning is to have a teaspoon of wheatgrass. Don't take the full recommended serving size. That'll get you sick. That's far too much. All of these supplement companies recommend far too much and too high of a dose. So you just take a teaspoon of this stuff every morning, drink it, let it sit for 2 to 3 minutes. After it has sit, you need to have a wooden comb on hand. There's 2 that I use specifically, and I'm going to link them in the Amazon description below. But what you want to do is you want to bend over as if you're stretching, and let the blood flow go into your head, and then start combing your scalp with the wooden comb from the front to the back. And what this does is that it helps to channel the blood flow into the scalp area, and when the wheatgrass is in your blood, the minerals will feed the scalp and follicle. It will help it to grow in thicker, grow in faster, and it will awaken dormant follicles. It's very powerful food if you use it in this way. I think that's all I have here. If you have any questions, please comment in the comment section below. Like and subscribe. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.